I'm Jennifer from Unveiled Wife, and today we have Sybil, who's going to share a little bit about herself and her experience with Wife After God. And I am so excited to just jump into this interview. So, hi, Sybil.
Hello.
Hi. Can you share a little bit with the community about who you are?
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm Sybil and I'm 39 and I live in central part of California. I've been married for 13 years and I have three children. My oldest is 11 and then I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 6-year-old is a boy and my two oldest are girls. And my 6-year-old has some special needs, so we work with that, and he's in kindergarten now and doing great. So,
Awesome. Well, I'm particularly excited about having you here today with us. And that's because we have already had a relationship. You are a contributor on Unveiled Wife, and you have some great insight and just wisdom to share with other women and other wives. So, for anyone interested in reading some of those articles, I'm going to put a link, but you could just go to unveiledwife.com/contributors and scroll down to Sybil's name, and you'll see all of our articles right there. And I also had the privilege of meeting you, Sybil, at the Unveiled Wife meetup, the Shine event,
yeah.
just a little while ago. And I would love it if you could just share a little bit about your experience there, being in a room full of, almost 500 women and just gathering to be encouraged and what that was like.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was something that I never thought that I would be able to do. Um, Day 15, my day is about fear, and so I've been wrestling with that a lot lately. And that was one of the things that I feared, was just getting up in front of people and talking. And it was amazing how God used that just to energize me and to inspire me to speak more and to tell more about my story. And so it just was amazing to meet you and your family and to talk to those women and really have them be touched by the words that God had given me to speak that day. So
That was an awesome moment for all of us, I think, and I loved sharing the stage with you and some of the other contributors, and just to know that God can use us, and that we don't necessarily have to be qualified. That it's Him who qualifies us, and He's the one that's going to equip us to do what we're going to do. And you were just a great encouragement to me that day too. So thank you.
thank you.
So, what was your overall experience going through Wife After God?
I really loved it because it was different. It wasn't the typical marriage, how to be a good wife type of study. I appreciated the focus on having a personal relationship with Christ first as a wife, and then how that flows into your marriage. So I learned a lot about that, and I learned a lot about just the importance of having intimacy with God and how that then creates more intimacy in your marriage.
I love hearing people's testimonies of what they experienced going through the book. So that's just awesome. Today we're going to, like you said, talk about chapter 15, and it's a chapter on fear. And I would love it if you would just share maybe one thing that stood out the most about that chapter.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot about focusing on, praying and looking to God and not letting Satan come in and tell you lies and about yourself, and how you can still experience intimacy and with God and in your marriage, even if there's something that you're worried about, that you need to just take a step and really not let those lies that the enemy tells you intimidate you into not sharing or not doing something that really God has called you to do.
Why do you think it's so dangerous for women to live motivated by fear?
I think if we're living under fear, then we're not able a lot of times to act in faith. So I've been looking at faith and fear a lot lately, and looking at them more as opposites. So faith is that motivator. It motivates you to act based on what you believe about God. But fear, it just has the ability to keep you from being obedient. because you're afraid of what God may be asking you to do, or that you're going to lose that sense of control that you have over your life. And it's just more difficult to act in faith when you're living under that burden of fear.
Which I think so many women can relate to, that sense of fear or panic or worry. I know that I have. And I think that it's so important to just press into God always and, focus on Him during those times. How do you think fear intimidates people or couples out of experiencing intimacy with God or with each other?
I think it's really, it makes you more vulnerable, fear, to being attacked by the enemy. And I think Satan just wants to destroy us and our marriages, especially when we are seeking God. And so I think he gets in there and he tells us those lies that maybe we're not worthy, or, we should feel shame. And so we then withhold ourselves, our thoughts, our actions from our husbands. And then that withholding then impacts the intimacy.
Oh, I love that you use the word withholding, because that's something that God's been really showing me lately, and how I withhold from my husband, and not just physically with touch or communication, but emotionally, and the things that are so valuable to me in my heart, whether it's pain or joy or whatever I'm experiencing, and I keep that from him out of fear. That's something that I've been struggling with lately, and I'm sure that there's other women out there who they heard that word withholding and they totally get that. So, do you have a personal story or experience of how fear has affected your relationship with your husband?
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm very self-conscious, have a lot of insecurities, always have. And I think that when I very first went through Wife After God last summer, one of the things that God laid on my heart was really I needed to pray with my husband, not just have him pray, but for me to pray as well. And that was something that was very difficult for me. But through prayer of my own with God, and just really, laying my heart out there, I felt like it was something that I really needed to do. And it was something that my husband really wanted me to do as well, even though he hadn't, bothered me about it or asked me a lot about it. But when I approached him and said, I really feel like this is something God wants me to do, he was very excited. And I've seen a big change in our ability to communicate and in our relationship since we've started that. And since I've been able to just be more vulnerable and pray with him. And I've seen that God has really become more the focus in our marriage than previously.
That's such a cool testimony of how overcoming your fear can really bless your marriage. And I would love it if you could share some practical ways wives can overcome their fears or worries.
Sure. I think for me, it has to do with prayer, and it has to do with surrendering to God. I think that it's important to take every day and spend some time with God, quiet time. Mine is in the morning. No one's awake. I get up really early and just can spend time reading the Bible and praying and really asking God what He has planned for my day. And that really does help. Even in the midst of fear, just opening my Bible and looking for verses and praying. Philippians 4:6 says, instead of worrying, pray. And you really can't do both at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't be talking to God about healing or, coming in and taking control if you're worrying. So that has been huge for me. And just also, I think, action, letting your faith take over and getting that cycle reversed. So not being in the cycle of fear, but just really being in that cycle of faith. I'm going to act on it. And okay, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So now I can do it again, and I'm trusting more and I'm acting more. And that just kind of just really has reduced my fears a lot.
Yeah, my husband always tells me that God is greater than our fears. And in those moments of worry or panic or anxiety, I have to remember that God is greater. And that forces me to, like you said, act on that faith, because when we go to prayer, we have to act on faith. And so in those moments when I remember God is greater, I just stop and pray. And it's right in that moment that God gives me peace. And it's not always immediate, but usually it is actually. And I'm so thankful. So I would agree with you that prayer is like one of the best ways we can overcome our fears and worry. Well, as we wrap up, I just want to thank you so much for joining me here today. And I would love it if you just would share one encouragement or maybe something God's been teaching you about life, being a wife, or being a mother that would encourage the Unveiled Wife community.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson he's been working on me lately is that surrender, that daily just giving up my life, my marriage, my kids, anything to him, and really just letting him take control and asking him, what do you want me to do today? Even as simple as that. And just, listening and letting him give me an answer, and really just keeping open communication with God so that he can speak to me, and just give me that ability to open my hands to him and just say, take it all, and then fill me with what you would have for me today.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sybil, for this interview and for encouraging women daily. And you blog as well. So where can women go to find, your encouragement every day?
Yeah, my blog is Piece It All Together, and that's peace like PEACE. And it's pieceitalltogether.com. And I talk a lot about fear and faith, and how those two can, when they meet, what happens, and how you can really look to God to overcome those fears. So
Awesome. Well, I really encourage all of you to check that out, and I'll link it at the bottom of this video in the description. And again, thank you for being here, and I just want to thank you for being a contributor for Unveiled Wife. You're amazing, and I am just praying for you and your husband and your family that you guys continue to do well. And yeah, well, until next time, bye.
bye.